Bustin' out, bustin' out.
We are back on the Dimers Sports Betting Podcast. It is Masters Week. The Final Four has wrapped up. There's plenty to discuss, and we're live today. Dave, how are you?
I'm good, man. It'd be a lot better if UConn won last night, though I would have been scrambling after that game, Googling where to find giant dog head mask to wear for this podcast before I started work today. So it would have been pretty difficult to fully embrace the victory. How are you feeling, champ?
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling tired. I can tell you that. But no, this is my fifth Final Four that I've gotten to cover. And I really never imagined watching my favorite team do it and being there for work. 2 short years ago, they won 8 games. They went 8-24 and fired their coach. And I had no idea what to think of the Dusty May hire. We'll talk more about it later in the show. But I'm sort of in this foggy haze of elation and fatigue and can't believe that just happened. So hopefully by the end of this episode, you'll help me process everything that I just went through and use the model to maybe give me some winners for the weekend so that we can move on from this championship. There is a lot to bet tonight. We're going to talk about 3 different sports that are ongoing on Tuesday evening. We'll give you some NBA picks. We've got Dinger Tuesday, home run targets as well. And then it is the Masters later this week. We'll save that for the very end of the show. But Dave, first, let's start in the college hoops world where we do have a Dimers Pro Champ of the Week. It is Spider Sims. Let them know what Spider Sims did.
Yeah, this was pretty great. Saw this morning. Before I even dug into the Discord to find the Champ of the Week, I saw this winner in there and was like, well, that's going to make things pretty easy. Spider Sims cashed a preseason Michigan ticket going all the way back to here. Let me hide the banner if you're watching so you can see it. 1 year ago tomorrow, April 8th, 2025, placed the Dusty May Michigan futures, believing in the process, from plus 2,500 with a 50% boost to 3,750, turns a cool $15 into just over 575. There is nothing I love more than a good futures ticket cashing in, finding the value early and watching it. I mean, this guy got to ride out all season long. That does not get much better than that. So congrats. Shout out Spider Sims for your believing in Dusty May and watching it come through national television last night.
Yeah, for any Michigan fans like me, it was pretty full circle. Only 2 years after he inherited the job to see the linear growth from a pretty remarkable turnaround in year 1 to just being the biggest, baddest team in the sport year 2, pretty crazy. And I like what Spider Sims did here because, you know, reading his caption, you place a futures ticket before you even know what the roster is going to be the following season. Maybe that's where you find some of these serious long shot values. And look, it's day 1 of the college hoops offseason. The transfer portal is already going crazy. But maybe that is a good tactical way to go about looking for some value lower on the board, is just find a coach you really believe in before you even know what his decisions will be with his roster. And like, you certainly were never going to get Michigan 25-1 from the moment the games actually started. So credit to Spider Sims, way to sniff that out. And great use of a boost as well to get that $577 payout. All right, Dave, let's go right into college hoops. I feel like this is a pretty good segue. And for my money, it was the biggest story in the sports world yesterday. Michigan tops Dan Hurley's UConn Huskies. I billed it as the best team in college basketball this year against the best program in the sport this decade, maybe ever. And what Dan Hurley had a chance to do, really for the first time, was be the underdog in a moment like this. I mean, he's always been the guy to beat, the team to beat when he gets to the biggest stage. That wasn't the case last night. And as that game played out, it felt like, you know, Michigan couldn't make a shot. A lot of things went wrong. Their superstar Yaxel Lendeborg was hurt, but at the same time, they were still keeping UConn on the back burner. It was still a 5 to 8 point lead for much of the game, and you sort of just kept waiting for the avalanche to come. It never really did. I think that's a credit to Dan Hurley and his game plan and just how tough his team, how much of a championship mindset they have. But at the same time, there's a reason Michigan was a 6.5-point favorite coming into this game. They're one of the more dominant individual season personnel groupings we have ever seen in this sport. So were you surprised by the outcome or just how the game played out at all last night?
Not really at all. I mean, it was a cover for UConn, and Dan Hurley's been a madman at that, so no shocker there at all. They had the lead for a brief period in the first half, and then things kind of went off the rails after the Alex Caravan flagrant, which stuff like that, not like a bad call or anything, but stuff like that changes the flow of the game. They could not seem to kind of gather themselves again after that. Got into that foul trouble repeatedly, almost as soon as they were like, all right, we've cooled off, we could bring the guys back in. They were getting back into foul trouble and had to go back to the bench. So it was tough to gain, I think, the flow of the game that they wanted, especially when you're holding, Yaxel Lendeborg, hurt or not, to 4 points in the first half. It's tough not to capitalize on those moments. But, it was a clear underdog versus the bigger team. And Michigan did, put the pressure on them as the bigger team in that situation and came out ahead. But not surprised really at all. Would have maybe liked a cleaner game, both sides, something a little more entertaining. But like I said to you earlier in the show, I'm used to now these UConn championships where they shoot like 40% from the floor, and it's like one of the most least thrilling championships you've seen. But overall, can't be upset with the effort from the guys.
Yeah, it's not exactly fun when the biggest moment of the season sort of ends in a dud game. And I think dud game probably isn't the fair way to describe it because Michigan's defense is dominant. I thought that they made UConn uncomfortable from the jump. And on the flip side, unlike Arizona in that Final Four game where Michigan just played their style of basketball for 40 minutes, Dan Hurley came in with the perfect game plan to frustrate Michigan. He grinded this game to a halt. It was a very, very slow, very low possession game. Ended up with, 65 possessions. It's the only tournament game Michigan played that was under 70 possessions in a basketball game. And even that got sped up a little bit late as UConn tried to make the comeback. And they did what they needed to do, minus make shots from three. And you're probably not going to win a game as an underdog against a defense as good as Michigan if you shoot, 27% from three or whatever it was. A lot of those makes even came late as they were sort of trying to mount their furious comeback. But, despite it not exactly being the most, entertaining best version of these two offenses that we've ever seen, I thought it was a worthy result for sort of a wrap up on the season that was. This is the same Michigan team that showed up in November, won every Players Era game they were in by 30 to 40 points. And the question was, are they going to be able to find that level again? I think pretty clearly the answer was yes before Yaxel got hurt in that Final Four semifinal against Arizona. And then they showed some real toughness. I mean, once he goes down, for them to sort of not miss a beat and still control two games without a player of that caliber, it's pretty impressive to me. As far as next up here, as soon as college basketball's games end, this is the way the sport works now. Now the portal's going crazy. Now there's NBA draft decisions to be announced. So I guess I'll throw it to you. Did you learn anything from what you saw in the tournament that maybe could impact what you're expecting when we get closer to the NBA draft this summer?
I'm not the film watcher of the college hoops that you are, Greg, so I wouldn't really be able to put too much on, what I saw in the tournament as far as affecting guys in the draft. But I think I don't think you saw anything negatively impacting guys like Cam Boozer or anything like that. I guess a question I would kind of have for you in regard, kind of ties into the draft, the transfer portal, all that. Is UConn maybe in a little bit of trouble? This is acknowledging that Dan Hurley is the coach. This is a team that was in 3 of the last 4 championships, won 2 of them, but are going to lose a longtime contributor to Caravan. Terrace Reeves likely going to be a late first, early second round draft pick, most likely. Obviously, they could pick up somebody in the portal, do whatever they have to do, but is this maybe more of a transitional period they've been in than some of the past seasons?
Yeah, I think if you want to frame it that way, I think it's fair. The only thing I would say is Dan Hurley is an amazing coach, and there's nobody I would trust more to sort of begin a new chapter. I think it would have been really easy to look at their back-to-back titles 3 and 4 seasons ago and kind of just say, hey, that was the players. That was Donovan Clingan, who was kind of one of the hearts of that team, and Adama Sanogo the year before. They had a lot of NBA talent is the point. Last year was a bit of a down year. This year, honestly seemed like a bit of a down year until the NCAA tournament, and then he proved he can do this again. He's obviously going to miss Alex Caravan. And look, I think the number one thing we've learned with Florida's title last season into Michigan's title this year, the sport is trending in a direction where the coaches that have a modern approach that really love building rosters with all of this chaos are the ones I think you want to put your investments into. And, you've got the old school coaches, even a ticket we had this year, St. John's. Rick Pitino is kind of comfortable throwing money at players, but I don't know that he necessarily wants to wade into the waters of each of these different silos of high school players and transfers and retaining the players you currently have and now recruiting internationally like Illinois did so well this year. And I think you have to do all four. And there's just a lot of old school coaches that say, hey, I'm going to do this and this. The other two are not for me. And I think you're seeing those coaches sort of, I don't know, have a lower ceiling, like a Tom Izzo's Michigan State, maybe a Matt Painter's Purdue, even, who was the preseason number one. And I think has struggled to balance all of that. So tying this back to UConn for a moment, I don't know where they land in the spectrum. I think they do all of it, but Dan Hurley is sort of this old school head coach that, I think would rather do it the traditional way of recruiting high school and keeping his guys. And he landed Terrace Reed in the portal. It took him 2 years to really become the player he became. Silas Demery was another really good portal ad. So I know he can do it. But to your point, losing Reed, losing Caravan now, he's going to have to maybe lean more on this mercenary approach of getting players from other schools this offseason if he wants to have a chance to compete at the very highest level. And that's a good segue because I think it's going to be a pretty high level in terms of looking at futures for next year already. Let's maybe try to take a page from Spider Sims's book here for a second. See if we can identify who the team to beat would be for next year. Here, I'll pull up just the DraftKings future odds real quick.
I would imagine the same staples are at the top, probably, right? Duke, Arizona, Florida, Michigan.
Yeah, you nailed our number one. Duke is the preseason favorite, 8-1, followed by Michigan, 12-1, Florida, 14-1, Arizona, 15-1, Michigan State, Kansas, 16-1, then Texas Tech, Illinois, Houston, and Arkansas round out the top 10. UConn just outside the top 10, 20-1. Still some belief in Dan Hurley, even though it is a little bit of a rebuild. I will say this. I think Duke being the favorite makes sense. Duke is Duke. John Shire has arguably had the best team in the sport last 2 seasons, number 1 overall seed this year, and the Cooper Flagg team that probably should have won a national title a year ago. They've been the victim of the fluky nature of a single elimination tournament. And there are critics of March Madness who love to come out and say this is the dumbest way to crown a champion. In a lot of ways, that's true. It's also the most entertaining and the most fun, and in my opinion, the most fun to bet. So I would probably not touch Duke at 8-1, even though I think they are a worthy favorite. Same with Michigan, Florida, Arizona, all between 12 and 15-1. I think you want to look a little further down the board. Here's the Spider Sim strategy. I think I'm looking at Illinois 18-1, Dave.
I like that. That's a little full circle to the pre-tournament pick by the model. Illinois getting all the way to the Final Four, right there on the cusp. Really close game too. Yeah, I like that, and that they have the pull from all those different silos, as you mentioned, especially the international pull. Got a whole team full of Jokic's over there. So
yeah, 18-1. They're valued as the 9th favorite, I guess. That feels like a miss to me. I've already seen a few of the way too early preseason polls dropping, and Illinois is ranked anywhere from 1st to 3rd in most of those. And back to the silos I was talking about, they're going to retain talent. They're going to get David Mirkovic back. He should be a first-team All-American next season. They are recruiting high school incredibly well. They just added Quentin Coleman, a 4-star top 30 kid over the weekend who's going to be amazing. I think they're still going to have really strong ties internationally, and many of the players there they will retain are going to be from that European bucket. And then they're going to portal well. They're already rumored with a guy like John Blackwell, who played at Wisconsin this year, at 20 points a game scorer. So, it really is, like I said, I think the lesson we're learning from the new era is find the coaches who do it all. And it's not a surprise that Brad Underwood is getting over the mountaintop, as maybe some of his competitors are still resisting the change. He's always been one of the best adapters in the sport. So I'll jump on an Illinois 18-1 ticket. I may see if I can find a boost like Spider Sims to get me up to 20 plus, but that feels pretty good to me.
Yeah, not bad. Hopefully we're here a year from now talking about this and going even more full circle with our guys' Champ of the Week ticket.
In Detroit in the Final Four next year, by the way. It's a home game, Dave.
Ooh,
maybe I can get you out. Yeah.
How do you like that? You don't have to travel too far.
It's going to be lovely. Maybe we
Yeah.
can do a Dimer Sports Betting podcast live from the Final Four in my home state next year. We'll have to see.
I'd like that.
That'd
I'd like that,
fun.
bosses. Do you hear that?
Please put a bug in their ear. All right, let's go from college hoops to professional hoops next. It is NBA time. King of the Court, $1 million bonus. It's the final jackpot prize tonight. If you are forgetting how King of the Court works, this is how. $5 bet on any player prop market that you like, whether that's points, threes, assists, rebounds, whatever you choose. Use your King of the Court token at DraftKings Sportsbook on the bet. And if that player leads all players that night in the NBA in points plus rebounds plus assists, you and everybody else who shared that player as your King of the Court pick will split the $1 million bonus bet pool. For tonight, just surveying the landscape a little bit, the two big names that we're always keeping an eye on are not in action. No Luka and no Nikola Jokic, which means we could get creative, Dave. So give us the targets. Who are we looking at tonight?
That's like 30% of winners from the season not in play tonight. Those two guys alone. Granted, Luka's doing the heavy lifting there, but for the most part, the two of them have been the 50 PRA guys at the top of the projections every single week. We don't have to worry about that this week. That could maybe change things in terms of opening or lowering the floor that you kind of need to win this, or it's just going to mean it's still going to be, as big as it ever was, and it's going to be the player who goes absolutely nuclear the most. So let's look at the 5 that come up here. A couple interesting cases overall in the top 3. Starting with Kawhi Leonard in Clippers Mavs, got him projected for 42.1 PRA. Clippers have clinched the play-in, but they could still fall to the lower seed game. Obviously, that means they need 2 wins instead of 1 to make the actual playoffs, so they will be motivated still. Facing the Mavs, ranking 23rd or worse versus opponents in points, rebounds, and assists over their last 15 games. Most relevant weaknesses for Kawhi there would be points and rebounds. He's not really a big assist compiler, but they rank 26th versus points, 23rd versus rebounds specifically. He is our top projected scorer of the night at 30.5 points, higher than even SGA, which is pretty rare from just a scoring perspective. That's probably where I would go with him, is in targeting points for his prop for your entry play. And certainly things are in play for him with the defensive matchup to lead the way. He won once before. He tied Cat on Christmas for 48 or 49 PRA, I believe it was, returned a pretty sizable bonus bet then. That was when there were 3 pools, so it probably wouldn't be nearly as big this time around. Also have to maybe adjust your sense for what the return will be, because it's been $2 million of a bonus bet pool for the last several weeks. Now it will be 1, so it will be smaller regardless. The next one's really interesting. LeBron James, right? So kind of taking Luka's place here at the top of the board, in theory anyway. Got the Thunder on tap. One of the worst losses of LeBron's career just last week versus the Thunder. So I think he should be pretty motivated in this. He was listed questionable before. So keep your eyes on that, I guess. But he's the top projection for the Lakers with both Luka and Austin Reeves out for the rest of the regular season. This thing gets particularly interesting because LeBron could be playing in his final season. He's been coy about it. I think we kind of expect that, but who actually knows? Making a potential King of the Court win here, pretty poetic if the King wins the final King of the Court jackpot in his final possible chance of his career. Just kind of food for thought there in terms of thinking about the intangible, larger narratives to these things. Obviously doing the unthinkable in his age 41 season. Oldest player to record a triple-double. Did that 3 times now, twice last month. Got him in that double-double, triple-double territory with 7.2 boards and 8.4 assists. Like I said, he's probably a little extra motivated after suffering that terrible loss versus the same Thunder team last week. Big caveat would be that Oklahoma City boasts one of the league's top defenses across the board in pretty much every category. So he'll have to do LeBron things, but he's LeBron and LeBron does LeBron things. He won $2,100 when he won it before. That won't be the case this time, but probably a bigger bonus bet than, maybe some of the guys here at the top of the board. Rounding out the top three with SGA in that same game, projected almost the exact same PRA as LeBron. He's usually here at the top, second or third, benefiting again tonight from the absence of Luka and Jokic. Despite being the league's second highest scorer, right behind Luka, yet to win a King of the Court this season. Probably a combination of things, both constantly getting passed by Luka on Tuesdays and losing out on that slightly little extra bit of upside with well-rounded stat box scores. He is a premier scorer, doesn't totally stuff the stat sheet. He's top 20 in assists. He's outside the top 100 in rebounds. Just not really the case you see with a lot of the guys who are multifaceted at the top of the board. Not a knock on his game at all. Of course, he's incredible, but possibly working in his favor now is that might be enough tonight. He could probably drop 35 and some compiling stats and flirt with the top. If he scores 40, 45, as we know he was wont to do, that might be enough on its own. Chip in a couple rebounds, assists, and that can do it. So even a repeat of last week's game against the Lakers, where he went 28, 7, and 7, that would be higher than anybody's projected for PRA tonight. So could finally be his time on the last Tuesday of the season. Moving to the long shots. Cooper Flagg here. This one is personal. I featured him as our biggest long shot last week. He turned in a fine game of 19, 10, and 3 versus the Bucks, then proceeded to drop 51 and 45 points in his next 2 games with 62 and 60 total PRA in each of those games. Hard to fade a hot hand like that, so we're going to ride with him here as our top long shot play. Rounds out the top 5 anyway. He's not really that deep down the leaderboard. Clippers rank right in the middle of the league in terms of defense as far as points, rebounds, assists are concerned. Not really locking teams down, not giving up any absolutely nuclear performances either. A couple lower tier scorers have broken through against them lately. Drew Holiday, Gary Trent Jr. for 30 plus points in the past week, and both Cooper Flagg's assist and points projections ranked top 10 on tonight's slate. Would be a fitting kind of end to his rookie season for him, since the Mavs aren't going anywhere. And then rounding it out here, Julius Randle, Timberwolves, Pacers. He's probably got the best actual matchup on the board as far as the Pacers are concerned defensively. Pretty well-rounded line, 23.7 points, 7.0 rebounds, 5.2 assists. None of those are top 5 overall, but they're pretty strong across all 3 categories, showing a nice well-rounded contribution of a game. That's usually the best way to obviously chip away at the PRA total, is by contributing in multiple facets of the game. Pacers rank 24th versus points, 23rd versus boards, 17th versus assists over their last 15 games. Adjust that for just forwards, and it's bottom 3 in points and rebounds allowed. So their bottom 5 3-point defense could also help him compile some assists if the perimeter shooters like DiVincenzo, Naz Reid, who like to put up the higher volume of threes on this team, can find their shot tonight. I'll just say honorable mention that I was looking at. You really want a crazy one. DeJounte Murray, they're playing the Jazz. Trey Murphy is out. Zion Williamson hasn't really done anything crazy lately. Murray came back from that injury with a couple pretty monster games. Won't have Trey Murphy in there, which has been his best route to compiling assists, but you're getting the Jazz matchup, and this is a very, very rare Dinger Tuesday, King of the Court Tuesday, where we don't target the Jazz, even though they're on the board. So food for thought. If you want to go absolutely nuclear on the final week of the year, that's who I would be looking at. I had him in here and then was like, let's stick within the top 8, because almost every winner has come from the top 8 so far. So I figured that was a good place to stay for the final one of the year.
Well, good verbal reminder that it is fun to target the Jazz. That's always a decent way to look at this. But all right, I love it. Thank you. Do you have one that you're going to officially apply your token to tonight, Dave?
I'll go with Cooper Flagg. I really liked him last week. He didn't take advantage of the matchup, and then 45 and 51 points. Let's see it.
Love it. All right, I'm going to take Bron. You had me when you said we just need LeBron James to do LeBron James things. That's an all-time sentence. I feel like we've seen that plenty of times before. No Luka. I think it could happen down the stretch run here for the King. All right, you had a little Freudian slip there. We're going to do Dinger Tuesday next here. MLB home run targets tonight. Now, you and I have discussed this a little bit offline, but with just the MLB schedule all the time when we normally record this show, how we sort of unveil any sort of baseball analysis night to night is a little clunky. I guess that's the word. You just never know. It's very scheduled depending on how many games are available at night. So for tonight, since it is Dinger Tuesday, you want to take a look at 3 home run hitters that the model's data loves for Tuesday. Is that correct?
Yeah, I just figured, we'll stick with the theme. They got a weekly promo too. It is nowhere near as good as it used to be. Man, if you know of the old Dinger Tuesday, the legends of the old Dinger Tuesday, man, that was great. I think you put it was a $25 bet on any home run hitter, and you would get $5 in bonus bets back for every home run hit in that game, no matter who it was, up to $25. So you could cash your home run prop. You could get $25 in bonus bets per game, feasibly per game. Not uncommon to wake up the next day from Dinger Tuesday with like $200, $250 worth of bonus bets and having hit a couple home run props. They unsurprisingly put that one in the ground, and now it is a choose your boost, I guess. You get a bet reset, which is formerly the no sweat token, or a 50% profit boost. So not nearly quite as enticing as it used to be, but it's home runs. We all love home runs. You get either a no sweat or a 50% boost, which is still pretty solid. So, we'll try and take advantage. I'm just going to sort by our home run projections real quick and bring them up just so I guess everyone could see the projections. And then I'll focus on the guys that I want to for the sake of this segment. But if we have not, I don't think we've gone through our hitter projections on the podcast yet. It's not dissimilar to the NBA projections when we look at them. 4 main categories here: 1 hit, 2+ hits, RBIs, home runs. You could sort by any of them. You could filter by game or prop type. You can search for players. You can select whichever games specifically you want. If you want 3 specific games, you can pick those 3 and compare them. Obviously sort by each stat. And today, here's our top home run hitters. Pretty focused in on 2 matchups today. Model really likes the pitching matchups and the weather and the overall setup in these 2. Yankees versus A's and Astros versus Rockies. And if you go on dimers.com, I wrote up a little article breaking down all 5 of the top 5 guys. At that time, it was actually Ben Rice over Isaac Paredes, who's climbed up just a little bit, but you can read a little breakdown of each of those 5 guys. And we'll be doing that every week, regardless of who the top 5 are. So you can always check that out just to see what the model has for the top 5. And then, some additional insights and data, pitching matchups, whatnot, to maybe help you narrow down your targets a little more. So that's the home run hub, I guess. And if you want to see what it looks like in the app, this is what that looks like. Same general projections hub. You can sort by the same categories, sort by matchup, and search by player. So while we're here, let's go through the, 2 guys from the top of the board that stand out, and then my 3rd favorite home run hitter of the night. First one is going to be Jordan. Look, he's off to a really, really, really good start. Unsurprisingly, he's Jordan Alvarez, but he's just absolutely raking the ball. Now Alvarez and the Astros get the Rockies in Coors Field, as we know, one of the more favorable parks for home runs. Early weather reports look like some wind could be blowing out, and moderate temps, no big red flags there, like a rain delay or wind blowing in directly from center field or anything. Like I said, Alvarez is mashing. He's hitting .353, slugging .794. He's got 4 home runs, 1 shy of the early season lead. He is particularly hitting really well against left-handed pitchers. .529 average, 3 home runs and 17 at-bats, compared to a .176, 1 home run, and a .412 slug against righties in the same number of at-bats. Rocky starter Kyle Freeland is he's fine to start the year, but he's a lefty, uses a 3-pitch mix primarily versus opposing lefties. Alvarez hits 2 of those, the sweeper and the sinker, very well so far this season. Jordan was plus 325, or sorry, he's fair at plus 325. He was just plus 310, down to about plus 280 now, last I checked on FanDuel. So you're not quite getting fair odds here, but if you use the 50% boost, you will take him into an edge territory, playing him as a straight. Everything lines up really well for him tonight. Solid pitching matchup, good field, weather looks okay. Jordan is one of my favorites tonight. Model has him as our second highest overall of the night. Going to the other matchup, the guy I like in this one, I don't think you can go wrong with any of them. Aaron Judge, Giancarlo Stanton, or Ben Rice. But I really like Ben Rice for a number of reasons. One, he's not terribly far off of value, which is important. Aaron Judge is going to be a little taxed, or a little more taxed than the other guys, of course. But Rice has 3 home runs already, looking to crack that 30 home run plateau in just his 3rd season after hitting 26 last year. He's in the 98th percentile or better on StatCast in expected slugging, average exit velocity, barrel percentage, hard hit percentage, all metrics that line up well with home runs. He can hit both righties and lefties, but all 3 of his dingers this season and an 857 slug have come versus right-handers. Like Savale, Aaron Savale is starting tonight for the A's, and he's got great numbers versus his primary pitch mix, cutter, sinker, curve, dating all the way back to last season. Rice's 3 home runs would be 4 if he hit every single ball in Yankee Stadium, as many as 6 in other parks. So he's getting really good lift on the ball, and he has the best home run to fly ball ratio in Major League Baseball this season at 60%. Really like Ben Rice tonight, 19.4% currently. He was 19.6%, so just a little higher earlier. Fair odds right around plus 400. He's about plus 340, so not terribly far off. And then for our last guy here, I'll just pull him up. I don't have a screenshot of him in the app or anything because he's a little bit further down the board. But it's Drake Baldwin against the Angels. Going to go after Yusei Kikuchi here, who's only given up 1 home run so far, but 24 plus in back-to-back seasons. Gives up a lot of hard hits still, mostly throws a 4-seam, slider, and a cutter versus lefties. Baldwin absolutely mashed those pitches last year. He's raking the 4-seam this year, off to a really, really ridiculous start. League-tying lead of 5 home runs. 1 off a lefty. He's got a home run in back-to-back games, just absolutely raking the ball. Favorable weather, matchup, and more lining up tonight. We've got him at 13.1%, so he's the furthest off here as far as fair odds. That would be at plus 660. You can get him at plus 500 on FanDuel, but that's a great way to use the 50% boost. That would make him plus 750, and now all of a sudden you have an edge play on a guy who's got 5 home runs to start the season at plus 750. So pretty good spot for Drake Baldwin. All 3 of those guys are probably my favorite 3 home run hitters of the night. You play them all together, Jordan, Rice, and Baldwin. You can get a 3-leg home run parlay at plus 9704. You can play that with the no sweat or the bet reset promo. You can play it with the 50% profit boost. You can do a little round robin, or you can boost your favorite straight and make them an edge.
Love it. All right, almost
100
to 1 if you go for the parlay. 3 dingers tonight: Drake Baldwin, Jordan Alvarez, and Ben Rice to cash it for us. I think we've somehow made it this far in the episode without plugging this. Shame on us, but make sure you get Dimers Pro 3-day free trial in the app. Try it out. You'll like it. And then you'll want more of it. And then we can give you a promo code to get more of it at the cheapest possible way to get it. But if you want all these insights for yourself in real time, it's right there. It really has been the greatest resource to me in my sports betting journey through the years. I check it every single day. And whether you're betting MLB, whether you're betting King of the Court, like we just discussed, college hoops, futures, like Spider Sims ticket, there are plenty of ways to analyze all of these various sports you want to bet on. Nobody does it better than Dimers. All of the simulation data that yields these projections for player props, for futures, against the spread, anything you want, it's all there. So check it out. Get the free trial in the app. 3 days, and then you can come back and get it for the long term. All right, Dave, it's my favorite golf tournament of the year. Every single year, I think every golf fan feels the same. It is time to talk Masters. This is the 90th edition. Rory McIlroy in charge of the esteemed Masters dinner this week. And I got to say, I don't know that I would eat anything on Rory McIlroy's dinner menu. Did you take a look at what he's serving up?
I didn't see it. Let me look it up real quick. Scotty's was excellent the last couple times. I was very impressed.
We got like a little Wagyu steak. That's about it. Everything else, it was a lot of fish, a lot of seafood. I was like, Rory, what are we doing here? Nothing Irish, no heritage. Crazy.
Yeah, that's mind-boggling. That seems like a good opportunity to force Irish cuisine onto the masses.
I think Rory's exact quote was, well, I want people to enjoy it. So there we go.
See, I love bacon wrapped dates, Greg, and he's got those. My wife and I love bacon wrapped dates. So that's kind of got me right there.
Well, then you'd be in heaven. Maybe we can get you on the invite list. Well, in the meantime, before we get to Masters, let's recap the Valero Texas Open. It was a little bit of a bad beat for the Dimer Sports Betting Podcast last week. Rob McIntyre to win had an edge, and he had a lead on day 2 before just falling through the cracks and letting JJ Spawn break through.
Yeah, he didn't even stumble too badly. He had so much magic the first to start and then couldn't keep up with himself pretty much. He still went -2 on day 4, but JJ Spawn turned in a really good couple of rounds to climb back in. Guy that the model had loved earlier this season. Nice to see him actually get back to it, because I would be thrilled to invite JJ Spawn back into my betting radar when it comes to these tournaments, but I've taken him off because he was struggling so bad. Ben Griffin, another one. Where are you, Ben Griffin? We were calling your name. We were sending out the signal. We'd like to see you turn in a good performance for once in your life this year, please. But who knows what would have happened anyway if Spawn doesn't win. It was a 3-way tie for second anyway, so it would have been a 4-way playoff if he comes up one short. Anything could have happened there. I'd probably be staring at a cash out if Robert McIntyre was in a 4-way playoff. But the weather was a big factor, as we expected anyway. We had a tough time finding any live value. Repeat delays prevented us from getting updated simulations before the following rounds completed the next day, which was a bummer. But it's Masters time. That's where we are focused today. So I'm sure more people are familiar with the general overall, aura and everything of the Masters than other tournaments. So I'll probably keep this a little light. But as mentioned, it's the 90th edition, first real major of the season. The Players is the unofficial 5th major. We've got 91 guys in the field, and it's one of the strongest fields that's probably ever been here. Every single player ranked in the world top 50 is in attendance, and those rankings are a little jumbled because they don't account for live stuff. So you probably have it's even better field than just looking at the straight up rankings. The top 50 and ties will advance to the weekend, where they will compete for the green jacket. Augusta is a par 72, long one, 7,565 yards. Toughest annual stop on tour. No doubt about it. The field has averaged more than an additional plus 1.3 strokes per round over the last 4 editions. But it's like a sneaky difficult almost. The fairways are big, but they set up demanding approaches. The greens are sloped and elevated, and the ball flies on them. The course is designed to be difficult, but within the confines of the track. The rough is short, but you have to be good from within those course conditions. You still don't want to get into the rough. If you go over the greens and find the rough, you're going to be faced with some difficult approach shots or scrambling where you have to try and compensate for the slopes and stuff at the greens rather than drilling it right where you want it. Bunkers might be another good example of this. It's got the 3rd fewest bunkers on tour, but they're very deep, and golfers who hit them save par less than half the time. It is a course that rewards every tool in the golfer's bag pretty much. And it is once again boiling down to guys who can probably avoid bogeys. Saving pars and getting pars are just as important as getting a birdie. You want to survive on a lot of these holes. And those who can dominate on the par fives are going to get a real advantage. They're all reachable in 2 shots, 4 of them, and birdies or better on about 40% of those historically. A couple little trends here. Last 10 winners all ranked in the top 25 at the time of a win. Of the win, 9 of the last 10 winners were between 27 and 36 years old, Tiger Woods being the exception there. So a couple little things you can use to maybe narrow down your pool at one of the more predictive courses that there has ever been on PGA Tour. And then on top of all that, golfers are dealing with the fact that this is the Masters, and the self can be the worst enemy at Augusta, if you will allow me to get a little deep here. Some storylines on our radar. Rory's in this one without the elusive Masters win hanging over his head. So he's coming in without that, last hurdle to get over, but he was in a lot better form last year. So I don't know if it's a better place to be or not. We've got Liv in town for the first time this season. 2 guys in our top 5, Jon Rahm and Bryson DeChambeau, both with almost identical probabilities and odds, but they are both well short of value, according to the model. So with that said, let us pull up the predictions and dig into them a little bit and find our value and best bets here. So right off the rip, we'll just talk about Scheffler here at the top. He's the favorite, plus 550, 15.6% by the model, but this is the longest he's been all year, probability and odds. Maybe saved for the Open later this year, probably will be the longest you'll see him at. Bet365 also has him boosted to plus 750. You will almost assuredly, I cannot say guarantee because I can't read the future, but you will almost definitely not get better odds than that on Scottie Scheffler all season long. He's been off for 3 weeks, got a new baby, a lot of outside factors to consider, aside from the data-backed ones like his struggles this season, particularly on approach, which is very important here. And from what I can find, the only player to win the Masters after 3 weeks off was Adam Scott in 2013. So good value on Scheffler, even better at Bet365 where they have him plus 750. But, maybe a little bit more going on there. That's, giving caught or reason to the same odds and probabilities you see. But let's move to the bets rather. Tommy Fleetwood, we're not going away from him. The model's not going away from him. 5.8% to win here at plus 2,300. He'd be fair at plus 1,620. Last year's FedEx Cup champ, 2 wins, 7 top 10s in his last 12 starts. Great form coming in, even if he hasn't broken through for a win so far this season. 8 consecutive cuts made here at the Masters. Back that up with a T3 2 years ago for his best result. He's 8th in the field tee to green, 9th in par 4 scoring. 2 staples of Masters champions in the past. Little elephant in the room, hasn't won a major. Nothing better than a T16 in the last major slate he played. So some concerns there, but he's playing really well. Data lines up, and it might just be that time for another Brit to win the Masters. We'll see.
And also a year ago, I mean, if we're just playing the narrative game, he was still seeking his first PGA Tour win, and then he kind of got the monkey off the back. So, coming off of the Rory Masters, he shook it off year. It's not that hard to envision maybe another guy with a mental hurdle getting over that hump in Augusta.
That's a great point, Greg. A parallel I failed to draw here. What would I do without you? Bobby Mack, we're going to go back to this guy. Plus 3,400 on DraftKings, 3.4%. Fair at plus 2,840, so a pretty solid edge there. He's the hottest major performer who's not a favorite, if that makes sense. Runner-up at the U.S. Open, T7 at the Open, T4 at the Players. Lots of really strong results at majors lately. 3 top 4 finishes in 2026. Last 2 events, he's been excellent. 2 top 25s at the Masters, so he's already adapted to this course. He's got a great driver, and his putter fits this place pretty well. He's kind of is one of those guys with the when, not if major narrative starting to build for him. It really should be only a matter of time before Robert McIntyre breaks through. And a really good edge on him this week after he just came up short last week. Colin Morikawa, some concerns here around his last 2 tournaments as he withdrew. But we are highlighting him because we are getting a really nice boost from Bet365 on him. He is plus 4,200. We're getting him up to plus 6,600 at 2.1%. He would be fair just around 4,600. So this is an absolutely huge value. Probably not going to get 4,200 on Morikawa many times, if at all, this season, let alone plus 6,600. I don't know the last time I ever saw Morikawa north of 60 to 1. But, he did withdraw from the Players after his first hole, withdrew from back soreness at the following event, Valero, Texas Open. And so, yeah, a little bit of concern there. But if he's back, you got to assume that some of that was in preparation for the Masters. He was probably trying to stay healthy enough to be able to compete here. But he's great here. 5 straight top 18 finishes or better across 6 Augusta trips. Of course, really suits his game. He's one of the best ball strikers in the field this year. He won Pebble Beach back in February. And if he's healthy, he's a proven fit here. So just another guy who a little bit of extra stuff going on, but the odds and value line up really well. And then back to the predictions here, go right down. Akshay Bhatia, we're back with him here. Been out for a couple tournaments, 2.0% to win, plus 6,500 would be fair at plus 4,900. So a really good edge. He's 2 for 2 making the cut here, but has only one top 30 finish across 9 career major starts. So still kind of waiting for that next level of play at the majors, but he has made the cut at the Masters. Lefties like this place, and he won't be dealing with first time or second time returning jitters anyway. Putter and his wedges have been really good. Really good on approach play here. Small long shot at plus 6,500, but definitely worth a dart throw given the odds and where he should be. And then a couple golfers just to keep your eyes on this week. None of these guys have outright value, but for one reason or another, you're likely to see them popping up several times. Jon Rahm, he's right up here with the favorites, though well off of value. He's killing it on Live this year, though. He's got a win, 3 runners up, and a 5th place finish in 5 starts. It's almost beyond Scheffler level stuff. What he's doing right now, he's never missed a cut in 9 tries here. However, model says he should be plus 2225, almost double, or it is double what he is at plus 1100. Jake Knapp, been having a great year. Similar price and probability to Akshay Bhatia, just around fair odds. Tournaments aren't played on paper. If they were, this guy would be like a 5-time winner or more. He's gained the most strokes on the field in 2026 out of all golfers. He just all around game sees him consistently gaining ground on the rest of the field. He was a T55 in his lone appearance here. But again, that just means he won't have first-time jitters and, should be able to adapt to the course in his second try. And finally, Cameron Young. We got this guy with a boost at the Players up to plus 4,000. He delivered for us, and that's kind of why it's worth a look at him again. Last 2 Players winners won the Masters, Scheffler and Rory. He's right around fair odds here, plus 2,300 and 4.2%. 2 wins and 11 top 10s since he missed the cut at Augusta last year. A completely different golfer coming in this time around. Cameron Young should be very popular this week. Right around fair odds here. And yeah, should be a good tournament. Really looking forward to it. Oh, we got one more thing here. I forgot. Our little boost, our top 20 boost. Colin Morikawa and Bobby Mack. Top 20 finish, including ties, boosted from plus 300 to plus 325 at Bet365. I'll give you those probabilities really quick. 48.9% for Robert McIntyre, 40.8% for Colin Morikawa. Morikawa is the last golfer who gets at least 40% to finish top 20. After that, it starts to dip off.
Nice. I love it. Love these boosts. It's going to be a great Masters. Pretty awesome field this year. Plenty of storylines. And yeah, I was camping for Tommy Fleetwood because that was my personal favorite bet long before we sat down to record this episode. Good to see the model.
He's gonna get it.
It's got to happen.
One day he's gonna get through. He's one of those guys. I think he's a little younger than he looks. He got probably all that time on the tour, not winning. He looks sometimes a little haggard. So he's got a lot of time left. But I really think that age sweet spot is a very important thing to look at. That's not a coincidence, in my opinion. Anyway.
No, very fun angle and a smart angle, and a course that history matters at Augusta National. All right, cool. If you are betting the Masters this week, let us know about it, especially if you are tailing Dave or anything that we brought from the model to this episode. Join the Discord. You can let us know. Tag us on social media. If you have any success with any of these picks, we want to hear about it. We'll shout you out as a champ of the week in the future, if so. And once again, get Dimers Pro, 3-day free trial only in the app. Check it out. Dave, that takes us to the conclusion of our show. But first, what else do we have on Dimers this week?
We've got the official end of the NBA playoff push. The regular season is over after this week. I believe it wraps up on Saturday, not Sunday, if I remember correctly. But yeah, 5 slates or so left. And then on to the play-in and the playoffs. We'll hopefully be able to turn some nice content around before the play-in and the playoffs. Maybe look at some final futures value, which we'll also be doing with the NHL, which is not too far behind. That season will end next Thursday before the Stanley Cup playoffs. Obviously, no play-in there. Just some really, really great 7-game series all the way through. Should be some excellent hockey. If you've never bet on playoff hockey before, it's a beast. The goals will dip off, and then there will be some absolutely insane games. There might be a 6 overtime game in there somewhere. It's going to be a good time. I really cannot wait for it. It is the best playoffs, in my opinion. We are about to hit the full-on golf, tennis, MLB, soccer segment of the Dimers calendar, which is a pretty good time to utilize the full scope of a Dimers Pro subscription with sports that you may not normally find an edge or be looking for edges on. The model is always looking for and finding those edges. So good time to jump in with Dimers Pro, even if you are, waiting for basketball and football and hockey to return after the summer. We'll have the World Cup this summer. I mentioned this before, but we have very, very expansive futures predictions already. We'll have tons and tons of content geared around that for those very special weeks in July.
It's a great time to be a Dimers user. It's a great time to be a member of the show. And it's a great time to be a sports fan in general as playoffs arrive in some of the biggest sports on the planet. Dave, thank you. As always, we will have more for you very soon. In the meantime, good luck with your Tuesday night home run and King of the Court picks. And in the meantime, Dave, it's been fun. We'll talk again soon. Cheers. Listen now.